If you go to any forum and ask why do 45 RPM records sound better than 33 RPM records, all else being equal, of course, you'll get a multiplicity of different opinions. I've had these conversations also with recording engineers, and they've got their opinions. I want to give you what I believe is probably the most significant reason why, for all else being equal with the mastering and such, that 45 RPM record will sound better than a 33 RPM record. And that is because in a 33 RPM record, the density, the linear density of the content in the groove is stretched out over a longer area. But you use the same size stylus in the 33 RPM record as you would in the 45 RPM record. So any angular error that you have with that stylus will be less deleterious playing a 45 RPM record than a 33 RPM record. If you've got, let's say, a 3-degree zenith error, because the content density is so much lower, it doesn't make as much of an impact. This is also why I instruct people when they're using the Wally Zenith as a tool to listen for zenith error correction by ear, you have to use a 33 RPM record, and to do so at the inner null point of the record at about 66 millimeters radius from the center of the record, where the content density is much tighter than at, let's say, the outer null at about 120 millimeters, where it's much lower. This is also why the difference in sound between 33 and 45 RPM records played on a system where the cartridge and tone are more optimized, the differences between them really minimize. Here's my suggestion. Consider the possibility that if you are hearing a big difference regularly between a 45 RPM and a 33 RPM, that your stylus is not properly oriented, or let's say optimally oriented in the groove. As you might expect, my cartridge and tone arm are optimally set up, and pretty regularly when I play a 45 version versus a 33 RPM version, say of those fantastic recordings that are done by Acoustic Sounds, I don't hear that dramatic of a difference between them. It's not a big difference. So I'm suggesting the possibility that if you are regularly hearing a rather dramatic difference between the 45 and the 33, that perhaps the reason is because your stylus and tone arm aren't optimally oriented. That's it for this week's Soundbite. See you next week.